Let me say a pleasant good evening to consumer advocate Trevor Hosten. Pleasant good evening, sir.
Pleasant evening to you, Mike. Pleasant evening.
Yes, thank you. We were just talking to former Energy Minister Kevin Ramnerai with so much developing today. Do forgive me. So much, and I mean this deal is gas deal. We had so much riding on it, according to the government, that was supposed to give us this economic stability and bring good days and better days for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And now it's totally not there. One of the things that stood out for me is this article in the papers: Port of Spain restaurants facing hard times. The pandemic, crime, increases in raw material, and the list goes on and on. But just going out now for an experience, Trevor, it's sort of a headache, because you go to these restaurants and it seems as though they're demanding that if you have to tip, you tip via machine. You can no longer give it to a server who has been doing his or her best all night to serve. You have been there. You can no longer give it to them. Plus this 10% service charge, which is mandatory, and so much goes on and on. What are we seeing as far as this? Is it a fact that we are now paying for all of that rhetoric about in the heights of the pandemic, we're all in this together, but no, listen, everybody wants the money that they lost out on it, and we the consumers need to find it for them?
Absolutely. Number one, you go into a restaurant, you have to pay VAT, you have to pay service charge, and you also have to pay tips. And what is happening there, my good man, is insatiable greed, because they have recovered from the pandemic a long time ago. I mean, people eat food every day, sometimes 2-3 meals a day they're buying outside. And what angers me is that the profits and the markups in particular in the food industry ranges between 200 and 400%. And the demand for tipping is simply that they cut down on the wages that they have to pay the employees for serving their food. You must have somebody to serve your food. But they're doing that to allow workers to depend on tips, which is usually shared among themselves. But as you just mentioned there, you came across some restaurants who want you to put the tips on the machine. There's no guarantee that that is going back to the servers.
That's right.
Or the waitresses that we should do here. In the United States, service charge is added, and you are advised up front of the service charge, because not all restaurants charge a service charge. And you have the privilege to decline that service charge if you are not satisfied with the food. I have a problem with restaurants to giving you any kind of service. They add the tips, they add the VAT, they add the service charge, and then still want to come around and want additional payments like service charges and that sort of stuff on it. I think that is very unfair.
Yeah, and one of the things we're seeing now popping up is a lot of food courts. I mean, in the Port of Spain, even the Sangre Grande areas, where people are basically buying more street food. They can afford it, and there's a lot more variety there. So, I mean, post-pandemic, we are seeing some new innovative ways. But looking at it, we're not seeing the powers that be making it a sort of an entrepreneurial desire for people who have that entrepreneurial spirit to actually get into business or even remain in business. And what does that do for us in the long run?
Very good question. Very, very good question. In a country where the people that we voted for doesn't see the economy as a pivotal part or pivotal structure of the country, so that we can all move forward, avoid crime and that sort of stuff. That's how it is. It's discretionary to tip. And a lot of customers feel that they have to tip. You don't have to tip. You only tip as a reward for service that you are satisfied with. Yes, you see? So you have some waiters or servers, as we say, who are rude in the way they handle you. And you cannot just say, okay, I have a mandatory tip and I must give you a tip still. You do not have to. And likewise, where service charge is concerned, you do not have to pay a service charge.
Yeah, but why are there still challenges when you hear people talk about, raw material being stuck on the port Some of it, of course, will have to be disposed of because of the time frame it has been there. The bureaucracy when it comes to getting approvals from immigration for employees to work because they may have the expert in one area of the cooking, the culinary arts. Then you have all of this bureaucracy. And one would think that at this point in time, post-COVID, we would be open for business and things would be a lot easier to access so we can get back on that economic track.
Having food on the pot and is there for a length of time is not the consumer or the buyer or the diner's responsibility. It's not. It's for the importer. And that is not any sense of permanence. That is maybe a temporary thing. But excuse me, now that we are post-COVID, we have passed all the excuses for that. Prices have subsided. Shipping containers, which had gone up like 400, 500, 600%, has gone back to its normal rate of shipping right now, and the cost has gone down drastically. So they don't have all those kind of excuses. We grow a lot of food here. I think rice is something that they import from Guyana, from India, and so on. But in terms of vegetables and so, we grow all of those things here, Mike. And we're looking at the cost. But let me tell you something that our country is not paying attention to. I wouldn't like us to close on unless I mention this. We have something in the States called dirty dining. And in Trinidad, we don't know what we are eating. In the United States, you have food inspectors who make random checks in your kitchen, and they discover things like roaches, rodents, open food, flies resting on them. They have food on the floor. I saw one recently in Miami where the inspectors went in and saw chicken chop up in a plastic container on the floor next to trash. They have dirty sinks, they have choppers, dirty choppers, countertops and that kind of stuff. And we do not have that here. Up there, they will shut you down until you correct all those citations. And if you have more than 3 violations, they shut you down permanently. We don't know what we are eating here. I'm telling you, I was flying from somewhere. I ended up in Venezuela, waiting on a flight to come back home, and my girlfriend and I at the time said, she wanted soup. I said, okay, I'll have a soup too. And when my soup bowl came, guess what was in my soup? A little roach. You know what I'm saying? So they may not have the same standards, and they have, let me tell you, we have a lot of ethnic restaurants popping up here now. But not all food sellers may have the same sanitary standards as others, like other dining folks may have, if you see what I'm saying. So we need to have good restaurants where we can maybe view in the kitchen with a glass. There are some fine restaurants will have a big glass case where you can look from the outside and see the cleanliness inside, how everything is well organized and so on. But right now, I am skeptical to eat food. Let me tell you, I spent a lot of time in one of our first prestige hotel. I would call any names. And I ate a lot of food and so on there. Then we had another prestige hotel open up recently, and I said, let me go and have some breakfast or something. And I go onto the table, and they have all the meats open out, fly resting back and forth. I couldn't eat. And since that time, I have not eaten out. And we have to be very discretionary. And if a restaurant opens, it is up to them to be confident that they have clean surroundings, clean utensils, everything is fine, and at least have some kind of showcase, show window where clients or prospective diners...
And I agree with you. Before you even get to the point that you want to get VAT and service charge and all of these things, please, your operation should be up, sanitized, and definitely clean. And I agree with you. And sometimes it makes you wonder, I know in the height of the pandemic, they said that these inspectors were not going out. Have they become complacent? Are they no longer functioning? And this is something we really and truly have to look at. We need to look at that. So
I am not sure they exist. I think they should exist, but I'm not sure they exist because I doubt that every single restaurant they are visiting is top of the line, fine and everything else. And then come out and say which is the restaurant. If they do, I think a couple of months ago they found 1 or 2 restaurants on Charlotte Street. Come out and tell us as consumers, we need to know that we should be cautious going in there. And how often are you going to do one check and give them a citation, or are you going to go back 2 and 3 times to make sure it's adjusted, the place is clean and so on? It's not a serious thing,
It certainly is.
if you are traveling, there are certain foods like mayonnaise and milk and cream you do not eat at all. I had some very prominent friends went to Paris, and they went to one of Maxim, I think one of the most popular restaurants there. The wife ordered a salad, and she started eating only to realize a whole set of worms under the first lettuce patch. You know what I'm saying? And Maxim is one of the finest restaurants in Paris. You don't know what's going on when you eat. You have to be very, very careful eating food, especially milk and cream and that. And salad. Salad is a no-no for me. Even here in Trinidad, I go to buy food, I have no salad whatsoever.
Trevor, we got to stick a pin in that. We're going to have a part 2 to this. I like where it's going, and I want consumers to be aware. Consumers, please be aware. Trevor Hosten again, consumer advocate. Thank you so much, and it's always a pleasure having you on. Thank you indeed.
Same here, my good man. Keep up the work. I admire you a lot. Keep it up. Okay?
Thank you, sir. Folks, don't forget Strong Heart. Get your bottle of Strong Heart. It's an all-natural omega-7 supplement. Get your Strong Heart XL today. Next week, Tuesday, we'll have part 2 with Kevin Ramnarine, and we have some interesting things lined up for you. We are getting to the bottom of this. I mean, hey, we're observing, but action is right around the corner. Be safe. Until next time.
Observer. Mikee K, Mikee K, Mikee K, Mikee K.